You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So this guy passes away in his sleep. It just gently goes. But he gets to the pearly gates and St. Peter's there and he says, "You're welcome to heaven. Come on." He goes, I can't go yet. I'm worried about my wife." It's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "She was going through a really rough time. I need to be there for her. I can't go yet." "Well, it's too late. I mean, time passes. Your body's already been discovered. You're dead. We can't send you back." He goes, "Please, there must be something you can do to send me back." He goes, "Well, your wife has chickens, right?" And he says, "Yeah." He goes, "We can send you back as one of her hens. Because one of her hens was about to die. We could send you back as one of her hens, and you'll at least be there for her." He's like, "Please, yes, please. I'll go back as one of her hens. That'd be great." He gets back. Suddenly he's a hen. He's running around the yard. He's a hen, and he feels funny though. He doesn't understand it. And he feels it. It's like his insides are going to blow up. He's like, "Oh God, oh." And he realizes he had to lay an egg. And the egg comes out. It's like, "Oh, that's so much better. Oh my God. Oh, I feel it again." He lays another egg. He's like, oh. And he hears his wife's voice. Sam, is that you, Sam?" She's like, "Yeah, honey, yes. Give me a second. I need to lay another egg." She goes, "Sam, wake up. You're pooping the bed." Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is Wednesday, February 15th. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. Tomorrow is my mother's 80th birthday. So, yep, going to have to do something special for that. Not every day somebody hits 80. Someone else has either JD or probably Kyle has a chicken joke. We'll have Kyle on in a few minutes. We're going to talk about the season finale of Legend of Vox Machina. Hello, Ed. But there's some bits of news I want to cover beforehand. A couple quick things. First off, we want to acknowledge the passing of Raquel Welch. Just iconic beauty. So many good movies. So much just, 84, I think she was. So, condolences to her family, friends, and fans. Just such an iconic beauty. In the news, Akiva Goldsman has signed a deal with Warner Brothers, a first look development, but his production company, Weed Road, is going to be focusing on 2 projects. And it's kind of funny to me because they're sequels for things that happened seemingly a long time ago. And I realize that we're in the day now where movies like Top Gun are getting sequels 35 years later. So it doesn't really seem as long as that. But the 2 movies he's going to be working on is Constantine 2, which is still happening. So just because James Gunn didn't mention it in his thing, it is still moving forward, and Keanu Reeves will be back for that. And a sequel to I Am Legend that will have Will Smith back and Michael B. Jordan. So that should be pretty interesting. Let's see. Was Raquel Welch the accomplice to Andy Dufresne in his escape from Shawshank? A bit. So, I want to cover some stuff that came out. Anytime Marvel does a big movie, they have another movie coming out. And like they do with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, they usually Kevin Feige does does an interview with somebody, and he kind of gives updates on other projects. It's kind of, well, they want to talk to him about this movie, but he'll give us an update on X, Y, and Z. And that happened. Entertainment Weekly put this out, and it's a long interview. So I kind of hit the highlights of it. So let me hit those for you and see what we got. So first up, Feige has said that they are going to adjust the slate for Phase 5 of the Disney Plus shows, because what we've had so far is we had a big rush of stuff coming out. They were like back to back with very little, and then we'd have a gap, and then there'd be a bunch more stuff. And a lot of that was caused by the fact that the pandemic slowed things down. So they suddenly had a glut of things to put out, so they had to put them out quickly. And in doing so, they kind of overlapped and took away some shine from each other. Some of the things didn't get a good push, good marketing. They were barely talking about one of the best things they did last year, which was the Werewolf by Night special, and same with the holiday special. Both of them barely got any kind of advertising or push, and then they came out and they did well. So, yeah. So what they're going to do is they're going to spread it out a little bit more. They're not going to put as much out. They're going to pace it out a little bit more. So there'll be not as many shows because, again, they're not trying to get all this stuff out they have backlogged. And then also they'll be a little spaced out better. So that's one thing. He also talks about the TV shows themselves. Now, a lot of people these days, when they do a TV show, they talk about, oh, it's like an 8-part movie, stuff like that. Feige wants to go the other direction. He wants to get back to episodic television. He says he grew up a fan of Star Trek, and he still loves to sit down and watch episodes of The Next Generation and stuff like that. So he still wants to be able to do some shows that are going to be more episodic driven, like Daredevil Born Again, which is going to be the huge series. He says, we want to do shows that can only be shows. I want to continue to make them even more episodic, which may seem counterintuitive, but I do think there is something fun about leaning back and watching an episode that can be relatively self-contained. So, all right. Now, he also talked about the upcoming Marvels movie. And there hasn't been a lot of push for the Marvels yet. I mean, we got a trailer for Guardians, but they haven't really done much with the Marvels yet. And they probably won't until after. As we get closer to Guardians, they'll start hyping the Marvels. It's kind of the way it works, just like we were getting close to Ant-Man and the Wasp and they're starting to hype Guardians. So he said, but talking about the Marvels and what to expect, he says there are fun cosmic elements to it. Marvel comic fans will recognize elements of the Kree-Skrull War. And it's picking up directly after the end of Captain Marvel 1. Not in timeline, but in story. We also do that in our upcoming Disney Plus series, Secret Invasion. And those are two very different follow-ups to that movie. Tonally, they couldn't be more different. But there's something immensely powerful about seeing Monica, Kamala, and Carol together in frame. And that, of course, is Monica Rambeau from WandaVision, Kamala Khan from Miss Marvel, and, of course, Carol Danvers from Captain Marvel. To me, it's only akin to the first Avengers movie and seeing the 6 of them together in a frame. It's chill-inducing. They're so great together. They all have different histories with one another. So that's something to look forward to. It still doesn't tell us a lot about it, other than that there's the elements of the Kree-Skrull War. So something to look forward to. Next up, we move over to talking about Captain America: New World Order, which, and I mentioned this the other day, but Harrison Ford has been confirmed as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who will not be general anymore. He'll be President Ross. So now I don't think that happens in the beginning, because there is that scene in the trailer where in the Secret Invasion trailer, see, I think what happens is we get a different president in Secret Invasion. That's played by Dermot Mulroney. And I think Ross becomes the president after that. So also that he's looking forward to seeing the dynamic between Ross and Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson. He thinks that they're going to be a very big part of the chemistry between them is going to be a big part of what makes that movie work. He also confirms that the Thunderbolts will see Bucky Barnes as the de facto leader of that team. So, which is kind of interesting, because all of the rest of them are kind of all over the place. And we know we've lost Ghost. And I think it's because Ghost is going to be in another project. But we lose Ghost. There's rumors we might get Songbird. Don't know about that. But the rest of them, I mean, how do you reel in somebody like Red Guardian or, some of the other characters? Should be interesting. Now, he did talk about casting. Ed says, I don't know what FB's problem is. Yesterday, whenever I try to watch a live stream, it keeps locking up. But if I watch it after the fact as a recording, there's no issues. That's interesting. Okay. Fahey talks about casting Harrison Ford. And he says, this has been a dream for years. Ever since Jon Favreau cast Harrison Ford in Cowboys and Aliens, I was always very jealous of that. So to have him finally in the MCU is just incredible. It's like, I can cross that off my wish list. So I thought that was just kind of cute. He says Spider-Man 4 is on the way. And quote, all I will say is that we have a story. We have big ideas for that, and our writers are just putting pen to paper now. So Spider-Man 4 is moving forward. So that there is going to be a Spider-Man 4, which is nice to know. Hey, Kenneth, good to see you. Moving on to Fight, he says about Jonathan Major is Kang. His character of Kang is the highest testing villain they've ever had in any of their friends and family screenings. And he says that part of the reason that they cast him was his film, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, and that Peyton Reed was a big proponent of Majors. So, hey, Backwoods, good to see you back. As for Kang being the right villain for the new multiverse saga, Fahey told them, for years, we've always had the inkling that Kang would be an amazing follow-up to Thanos. He's got the equal stature in the comics, but he's a completely different villain. Mainly that's because he's multiple villains. He's so unique from Thanos, which we really liked. So Kang, again, is very unique, and that's why they want to go that direction. He says that Marvel is open to more Moon Knight, saying, I think there's a future for that character as we move forward. Yeah. So more Moon Knight coming. And we know there was a teaser of the director and Oscar Isaac on vacation scouting stuff for Moon Knight 2. Hopefully that's true. And finally, he confirms that Blade will kick off filming in the next 10 weeks or so. And he says that people will start hearing more about the Fantastic Four soon, and that they plan on that being a big pillar of the MCU going forward. So those are kind of the highlights from the interview. It's a much bigger interview over at Entertainment Weekly. If you want to get more of the nuance and stuff, check that out. Jay says Raquel Welch was an ageless beauty incarnate. Sorry to hear her passing. Yeah. But so, yeah. Check out Entertainment Weekly if you want to read the full Kevin Feige interview. it is interesting. There's a lot more detail to it. I just, like I said, pulled out some of the highlights to cover here. Now we're going to go ahead and take our first quick break. And when we come back, Kyle will join us. He will tell us his chicken joke. And then we will go right into talking about the Legend of Vox Machina and possibly what makes a good D&D TV show or movie. And will they be able to do that with the new D&D movie coming up? So we'll be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for two very important reasons: to sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. Every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic culture and sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We've got a really good lineup today. After this will be Comic Collectibles. Also tonight we'll be kicking it with Henri. And
new show starting at 9 o'clock tonight.
Okay, that is starting tonight.
Yes.
Because I got no indication from you that there was a new show starting tonight.
I got no information until noon today.
Okay, so there's a new show tonight, and that would be...
360
you might as well leave
Comics.
him to stay on now. 360 Comics, who is a big YouTube guy. He's coming over and doing a show here now. So,
really, his niche is Instagram.
Oh, okay.
He was doing what we're doing now here on YouTube on Instagram when nobody else was. So he's really a big Instagram guy and hoping to help us expand in that regard. So
cool. All right. So join us for 360 Comics. I don't believe we're doing a Pop Go to Writers today because we didn't do a new one, but that would be moved anyway, wouldn't it?
Not this week. It would be moved starting next week.
Okay. But Jim and I did not do a new one this week because, Jim got his second shingles shot and wasn't feeling that well, and it was the Super Bowl, and I just decided to call it off. So Jim would have been a trooper. He would have been on the show, but I made the call. So, all right, we are going to talk. Well, first, we're going to start with you telling us your chicken joke.
Okay, why did the chicken cross the road?
Why?
To get to the idiot's house. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I got that call. I got that joke from a 7-year-old at 4:30 this morning. My nephews are on vacation in Warsaw, Poland, and my friend who is their mom didn't do the math on what time it would be when they called me. She thought it would be okay if they call me at 10 o'clock their time. That's like 5 o'clock my time, because normally they're in England. She didn't do the math on the time change, so called me in the middle of the night to tell me that. Pretty good joke, though.
You do a really good chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you eat enough of them, eventually you can impersonate them.
Better than the one I did earlier.
Well, it's why I distrust Rich Little. That's a joke that literally JD and I will get. That's it.
Oh, I get it.
Okay.
Does he do a Natalie Wood imitation?
It's a dark joke, Dan.
I had to outdo you.
It's a dark joke.
It's very dark.
So, all right.
Yeah. You know, they say a dark joke is a sign of mental problems or dark humor.
If that was true, I would have been committed years ago.
All right, so we watched this animated series called Legend of Vox Machina. And they released it 3 episodes at a time. We got to the last 3 episodes, and they gave us a cliffhanger.
I don't know that I really would call it a cliffhanger.
A tease for season 3?
Yeah, they kind of left it a place where, okay, this is a moment of rest. Right? Like, there's this stasis for at least a minute where you can leave it and then pick up for season 3. Rather than it being like where they had left like episode 9, where you're literally in the middle of a frame when they cut off. This is, okay, we've come to a place of, you know.
So did you get to watch all 3 episodes?
I did, and I finished episode 9.
Okay.
I actually had to watch 3.5 episodes.
So just what is your overall feeling about the season?
I liked season 2 less than season 1.
Okay.
Which is weird because dragons.
Yes.
It felt like they tried to go a little too Degrassi in season 2. Everybody's in love with everybody else, and there's there's a Scanlan revelation that you're like, well, of course that makes sense because it's Scanlan, but like, did we really need that? You know, that like it felt like they tried to go teenage drama rather than what they had done the first season, which was a very great animated adaptation of an RPG. Like, and I don't know, was that how they were playing it when they were playing the campaign?
Yes.
Or did they add that in because now it's a show that needs a little more narrative?
Nope.
There are looks that the characters give in the animated series that in my brain aren't something that you see in an RPG.
They aren't something you see in a normal RPG, but this is an RPG written or played by people who are professional voice actors for a living and put by a great storyteller. So
again, what I'm saying is there a beat in the original campaign where all of a sudden Pike looks longingly at Scanlan as he goes upstairs to try to sleep with somebody? Like, is that something that's narratively part of that campaign? Or is that something they're adding because they need the beats for the animation?
I can't say specifically, but I know that those types of things are regular in the played game. they do
Right.
have those things.
And you
So
know,
it is
whenever
very
you're
possible.
playing two characters for a long period of time, there are always those natural relationships, ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and this is a group of people who have been playing together for years before this.
Right. But what I'm saying is there were moments in the show where it's like they wanted you to feel like Pike was really upset that Scanlan wasn't trying to jump her bones in that bar.
Mhm.
And I know from being a player that even if that's what my character wants, there's no expression of that in the silence. I have to express that out loud in game for it to be a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And so it felt like they were trying to add drama and humanized parts of this. You know, JD said, I really feel like a 20-something office drama. Right. That's kind of what I'm saying is it's like Ross and Rachel or
Yeah.
Pam and Jim. I don't need it.
See, the interesting thing is, to me, is that they do work these relationships into the live play game, which is funny because most of the people in the game are somehow involved with somebody else in the game. Matt Mercer, the DM, is married to name slips my mind, but the actress that plays Caliph, they're married.
Laura Bailey.
No,
not Laura Bailey.
Laura Bailey plays Vex in Vox.
Yeah.
So Vex is actually married to the guy that does Grog. Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham. And Ashley Johnson is married to one of the guys that produces the shows.
That's not something I care about. Like in the sense of, I'm talking about, was the show good? And I don't care if people are doinking. I don't care if their characters are doinking. I don't need it to feel like this. Will they, won't they? Are they gonna? Oh, woe is me. It's not me. Do it, don't do it. But let's get back to the dragons.
Okay. But now this aside, Vox Machina and Critical Role are more successful than just about any other live play game out there. And they've seemed to be more successful than most adaptations of role-playing games.
And if it was a live play game that I was watching and they were playing this out, I wouldn't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're watching an animated version, I have no history with the other stuff.
Right.
Either play it out or leave it out. Because now it feels like you're trying to emotionally manipulate the story after the fact.
Well, they're adapting a live play game into animation.
Play it out or leave it out.
Okay.
Because again, I'm not coming into this show to watch this show because I want to see if the animated guys get together and shtup. Right? I'm watching this to see these people, to see an animated version of this campaign these people played.
Mm-hmm.
So give me the campaign they played in an animated version, which is what I felt like they did in season 1. In season 2, it felt like they gave me that, but then they tried to give me more in developing, character relations and wants and needs and desires and all this kind of stuff without explicitly telling me that it was part of the game.
So if this was not a D&D game, if this was just somebody,
I would have stopped watching this cartoon probably midway through season 1.
Okay. You don't. Well, that's interesting. Why?
Because it's not the kind of storytelling I like. It's not the kind of animation I like. It's not for me in the sense of, if it wasn't D&D, which is something I love,
mm-hmm.
tied to it, I wouldn't have any interest in it. But because it's this game that I know these people have played, and I've played a ton of, and I love this game, I'm willing to see their adaptation of the game. And that's why I keep watching. I don't want their adaptation and their, trying to think of a good word, extemporization. I don't want their, oh, if I had to do it over again, I would have made a check to see if, I could have gone home with Scanlon. I don't want that. That's not what I'm interested in. So don't give me the emotional will they, won't they, like Ross and Rachel. Don't give me that, is someone going to die? Like it's 24 or one of those dramas.
Mm-hmm.
Show me what you played out.
Okay, but I think a lot of that is put into the game by Matt Mercer, and I think that's part of what makes this more successful than most live play games. Maybe not to you.
Right. And again, I don't care about success. The fact that they're successful means nothing to me. I care about, did I enjoy this series? It's like Marvel movies are successful, but I hate most of them. Right? I don't care about the success of something. That doesn't tell me if it's good or not. What tells me if it's good or not is if I enjoyed it and I felt like it was a good representation of the story. And while the first, I would say 5 episodes of this series were great, it got more and more like, okay, we're trying to set up some sort of love triangle or some Degrassi kind of, will they, won't they? Here's all this emotional stuff. Without showing us that was the direction the play was going. If we had seen that, the character of Pike is turning into more of this other kind of type of character that is played a little more emotionally and is more of a love, is more interested in a relationship or something.
Mm-hmm.
In the way they vocalized the play. Okay. But now it's just like, so did the animation studio add those 2 frames in, or did you? Right? Is this something we're adding because we have to get the animation done? Or is it something we're adding because we think it will lock in more 12 to 15-year-old girls? I don't know. And that's what bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
If I, and that's why it's why some of the other role-playing shows are preferable to me. Because you get a little bit of both. You get, here's what they're actually playing, and here's the animation, right? Or here's the whatever you're doing. If all of a sudden, and here's a prime example. I ran a game once with somebody who was going through a breakup. Their character, the way they played their character changed because of the stuff in their own life. If I know that that's how that went, then it makes more sense when there's this different emotional tone.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the thing about The Legend of Vox Machina is the stories are very well told RPG campaigns. Very well told. But the animated part doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, hold true to the tone of the actual play. And maybe the simple solution is an omniscient narrator, like you have in a D&D campaign often.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's this omniscient narrator go, on an episode is, Grog feels that, Grog looks this way at the scene and, his face expresses his despair, almost like what is that? Described video.
Okay.
I think it would have helped. Because I'm not going to go back and watch the YouTube videos of them playing this campaign. I don't care enough. Right?
Mm.
Tell me what we're doing. And then let me watch it.
So, do you like this show?
It's all right. I don't dislike it. And here's this is the same analogy I would make. It's even when I dislike a Marvel movie, I'm glad the Marvel movie came out. Because I grew up in a time where that stuff didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't D&D shows when I was coming up, when I first started playing D&D. So I'm thrilled that it came out and that it's successful, but I don't care about that. I'm just glad it came out. And so I like it fine. In the current slate of television that's coming out, it's like the new Night Court, Abbott Elementary, and then probably this. There's a new show called Not Dead Yet that I'm very into, but we'll see if that pans out.
Someone else was telling me about that one too.
We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. Martin Mull was very good in the first episode, but the second episode was Anna Gasteyer,
Mm-hmm.
and it was weird. We're gonna have to see if it finds its footing.
Okay.
Anyway,
We've just spent 15 minutes talking about a look Pike gave to.
It's not even that. And what I mean is
No, we get what you mean. I
well,
think we need to move past that.
Sure. That's the stuff that bothers me about it, and it's the stuff that would take me out of watching it.
Okay.
The stuff that you could tell is active live play, I think is insane. It's just so good. The one other qualm I have with it, with season 2,
Mm-hmm.
is standardize your animation.
Yeah, there was some switches to CGI.
Right.
Or
It's
to
like the
computer.
dragons didn't look like they could exist in the same universe because they had different number of dimensions
Mm-hmm.
than everybody else. Like, standardize your animation. Like, but those are my things. Like, I wind up with shows getting taken out of them rather than being sucked into them. It's Poker Face episode 1. Oh man, Adrian Brody's in this. Sucks me out of it rather than draws me in.
You realize you're unique in some of the stuff that sucks you out of an episode.
100,000%.
Yeah. Because I doubt anybody would have. First thing, there aren't that many Adrian Brody haters out there.
I understand. I may be the only one.
Because I actually appreciated him in the episode.
And he wound up being very good.
Yeah.
In the first 2 minutes, I'm like, really? And I'm like, oh, that's actually very good. So, but no, I do. And again, I think that's why when I say my opinions, they're my opinions. I'm not pontificating on the success of the show. They're my opinions that I hold, and this is why I hold them.
Mm-hmm. I'm just always very fascinated by the things that can set you off, the things that can take you out of a show, because they really do seem to be the minutia or so far outside of what, the fact that they cast a certain actor. Now, there are some actors I don't like. So I agree with you. I get that. But normally I can go, okay, and put that aside, and you don't seem to.
No, it hangs me up.
Yeah.
It's somebody put on Facebook a picture of Sean Astin.
Okay.
And it was, Sean Astin from Stranger Things, is doing this thing. And no, that's Sean Astin from Lord of the Rings. No, that's Sean Astin from the Goonies. And I'm over here going, you idiots, that's Rudy. Like, and when I see Sean Astin in Stranger Things, I was like, why is Rudy in Stranger Things? When so that's the way my brain functions. And
I'm glad that you're alone in that, because if everybody's brain functioned like yours, then actors would get one job and never work again.
Interestingly enough, I was watching a show called Finding Your Roots with Dr. Henry Louis Gates Stevenson, or Henry Louis Gates Jr. It's on PBS. And they had Richard Kind on there.
Right.
I never have that happen with Richard Kind. I see him pop on the show. I go, hey, it's Richard Kind. I wonder what funny things he's going to say now. Right? Like, it never takes me out of it like it does with other actors. And I don't know why.
Now, see, for me, I looked at Colin Farrell done up as the Penguin in the Batman movie thinking, why didn't they just hire Richard Kind?
That would have been so good.
But he's the same. They spent a fortune to make Colin Farrell look like Richard Kind.
Right? That would have been so good.
Yeah. You could have just put a funny nose on Richard Kind. It would have been the same thing.
Oh.
That's
I'm going to need a minute.
Let's go ahead and take our second break. We'll come back while he catches himself. We'll be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. I am joined by producer Kyle, and there we go.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kyle?
You ain't got to change your nose.
No, you don't.
No.
It's pretty much just there.
Yeah. No, so I was thinking about it during the break, Dan. And you had mentioned the D&D movie.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that, and I think I'm going to have the same problems with the D&D movie that I have with Legend of Vox Machina.
Okay. But the D&D movie is not a game, a played game adapted. It is an actual story set in that universe.
Right. But I think that's a problem I'm going to have.
Okay.
JD's right. The Penguin wouldn't sound like Richard Kind, but we all saw Darth Vader, so we know that technology exists.
Yeah.
I'm going to wish the D&D movie was a played campaign. Right? It's I'm gonna wish that I could see, okay, this is the choice that Steve Trevor made when he chose to be a bard. I couldn't think of Chris Pine for a second.
I don't know how your brain works.
Sometimes I have to draw connections. But no, it's I want to see them play that game, right? In that sense. And I worry that if it leans too heavily into Dungeons and Dragons as a Dungeons and Dragons movie, that I'll feel like if they meet the Tiamat, I'll be like, really? If they meet some other random dragon, I may be able to put it aside. But that kind of, if you start pulling in the concepts.
Yeah.
It's why I think Onward, the Pixar movie, was such a great adaptation of what could be
Okay.
a D&D campaign, but wasn't. It didn't feel like a D&D campaign when you were watching it. But when you think about it, it kind of does. That's the opposite of what's happening here. These are, you look at it and it feels like a D&D campaign, and then you watch it and it isn't. JD's feeling better.
Yes. JD says they won't meet Tiamat, but they will meet his brother, Laundromat.
It's almost as good as our chicken jokes.
Yes.
No, and I was thinking about this too. I didn't have that feeling about the World of Warcraft movie.
Did you like the World of Warcraft movie?
No, that movie sucked. But I've not played a lot of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And so I think my hitch in my thinking is I can't unknow what I know. I can't put aside what I know. Right? I cannot, my brain doesn't disconnect that way. And so if they had played, here's an example. If they'd been playing Starfinder, which is the version of Pathfinder that I've played almost none of, I couldn't, my brain wouldn't try and make those connections.
You know, it's starting to feel like our conversations are becoming therapy sessions.
My therapist is across the hall. Want me to go get him?
Let's get back to Vox Machina and the final battle against the Black Dragon. I don't remember if the Black Dragon had a name.
Something I forgot, Dan. I was really pleased with the way they got Grog his power back.
Yes.
That was a very satisfying way to do that.
They did that really well. Yeah, I thought the whole fighting the group, was it Storms? Something of Storms? What is it? Anyway.
The Herd, yes.
The Herd of Storms. Yeah, I thought that was really well done, that whole scene. But I don't remember, was the Black Dragon Thorndak or was that the big dragon? And anyway.
Acidy Dragon.
Yes.
Well, that dragon could have used a Tums more than anybody I've ever seen.
Black Dragon spit acid. There's going to be a Black Dragon in the D&D movie. Umbrasyl. Thank you. Umbrasyl. There was something so Scanlan about the plan that he came up with.
Yes.
To attack the dragon with Vax. And the thing that got me is as they're racing towards the back of the dragon, and he calls out for Scanlan's hand. As it grabs them, it puts two fingers out. And then gets them inside.
Yeah, I when they went full Drax,
Yeah.
They're like, okay, here's how we're gonna do this. Drax the Destroyer gonna get eaten by the thing and then kill it from the inside or whatever. I knew it wasn't gonna work, but it was hysterical.
Oh yeah.
And the way they vanquished the dragon felt a little anticlimactic.
Okay.
But at the same time, a little forced. Now, and again, this is not me not knowing in the rule set they use, can the player who's playing Scanlan pass 2 turns? And then all of a sudden he has 3 initiative turns or whatever to go at the end? Like, it felt a little forced in terms of the way it was portrayed, unless that's what they were doing, right? In our homebrew, you can seed your turn in combat, and then if everybody's getting 3 combat turns, you can have your 3 at the end. I don't know, but if that's the answer, then that makes a lot more sense.
He might have held action, at least that explained 2 of them, and a lot of characters do have bonus action.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, is he holding his action, or did he have bonus action? That's the stuff I want to know. Because then I can be like, oh, I can see what he's doing, and I'm so excited to watch this happen.
Okay.
So,
what did you think about the fight itself, though?
I wish it would have had more butt jokes. Because I think this show has just a good balance of butt jokes to not butt jokes.
Yeah.
Again, it felt like it was just sort of tied up in a neat little bow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a wrestling match. It's all going one way, and then the last second, the littlest guy pulls out the thing and they win. I've never played in a campaign where that's the way it goes. Right? It's okay, sure, the littlest guy beat him, but also like all of your vestments are gone and you all have 3rd-degree acid burns, and like it just kind of felt like, okay.
Yeah. But I've also played in campaigns where the DM's big plan goes up in smoke because a player does just the right thing or gets just the right roll.
Totally something that could have happened, and I would accept that as an answer.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love the kinetic energy of it. I could have done without the whole Scanlan daughter sub story.
Unless that's going to be a thing. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, are we adding this because we think it'll get more people to come back and watch?
But again, this is the type of stuff Matt Mercer puts into the play, into the actual game, and I don't know a lot of DMs that do that. He does.
Right. And that may be the problem. I may sit down in a game run by Matt Mercer and hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not the kind of DM that I would gel with. I don't know. That may be part of the problem.
Yeah. Because he is definitely a storyteller. It's more than just by the numbers.
Right.
Yeah. So overall, I say I really liked the season. I liked it a little better than the first one. I felt that it had a better direction, a better feel to it. I liked how it was one overarching story, where the first one had a couple different things
That was a big bonus for me too.
Yeah. Mind you, when they did the original Kickstarter, it was to do one segment of their campaign.
Right.
And they added another segment, and then they got blown out to,
Sure. And I didn't mind the way the first season went in that regard. It didn't bother me. It didn't, but I did like the fact that this was one through line.
Yeah, I
Starts
like
with
that
dragons,
one.
ends with dragons. Okay.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we also started the first season with a dragon.
Right, but we ended with vampires, which was weird.
It was.
Yeah. So, Dan, I can answer your other question that you asked. What makes a good D&D movie or television show?
Yes.
Gelatinous cubes.
I have one right there next to Aquaman.
Yeah, mine's over there. But no, it's true. It's like for me, it's things that can only possibly exist. Technically, it did end with a demon. You're right, JD. But
You're
vampires, demons, they're all the same. No, that's what I want. I want things that can only exist in Dungeons and Dragons or in role-playing games. And I want to see them played.
See, I have a different connection to gelatinous cubes because of the one campaign I was in. I may have told you about this. I don't think I've ever said it on air. Playing the game with Matt Hawkins from Top Cow and Ryan Cady and Daniel Peterson from Skybound and a couple other comic people. We came across a sentient gelatinous cube that we befriended, made part of our group, and just became one of our characters. So we traveled with a named Gobbledygook. So it became just a regular thing to have a gelatinous cube with us and use it in different ways. You know, it became a weapon. JD's calling me out for name dropping. It's kind of what this show's about.
It's true. Yeah, no, I think that my connection to Dungeons and Dragons isn't the storytelling. I've never cared about the lore. It's the same with Magic the Gathering. I don't care about the storytelling or the lore or what the worlds are. I want to play the game.
See, I'm the opposite. The lore is what draws me in. Just like what got me really, interested in doing Warhammer was once it was explained to me the different factions. I went out and looked up some of the factions, the lore, and the Grey Knights are what got my attention. Mine would be
teach me to play the game. I'll pick out an army that seems appealing to me. Now teach me to play the game. Oh, there's lore to this? That's nice. How do I get better at the game? Do I need to know the lore to be better at the game?
No, the lore is the fun for me. But I'm a storyteller, I want a story. I want to tell a story.
This is exactly it, right? I learned to play Magic because that's what they did at the comic book shop on Saturdays. Right? That's why I learned to play Magic. So I couldn't have cared less about the lore. I just wanted to play the game everybody else was playing. And then after having played for a number of years, I went back and learned the lore. JD, you've played with me enough to know that if Dan's running the game, I'll just play my character. If I'm running the game, then Dan will just play his character. Like, we've both played enough campaigns with other people where we wouldn't be butting heads.
Yeah. Yeah, I've played games where, I get into character and I do the funny voices or whatever I need to do. And then I've played games where we're just playing the game. I'm more of an analytical player anyway.
Yeah.
I'm never the big buff guy that kills everybody. I'm the guy that solves the puzzles.
Right. And I'm always the buff guy who wants to eat everything. So we would figure it out.
Yep. We have to get a game going. A live play
We'll work
game.
on it. Let me get back from Comics Pro. We'll work on it.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I think we went a little long anyway. So we're going to turn this over to Comics Collectibles. Stick around for that. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about Bad Batch. See you tomorrow.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan